bringing you news from Hamden, Cheshire, and the Quinnipiac community. Live from the Ed McMahon School of Communications, you're watching QNN, the Quinnipiac News Network.
Good evening and welcome to QNN. I'm Alyssa Meyer.
And I'm Steve Robertson. Last night, Quinnipiac was in a frenzy as students rushed to get their hands on an elusive Yale hockey ticket.
Jill Talbot has the story. Just in time for the big hockey game against Yale Friday night, it's Spirit Week. There will be several campus events to get students pumped up for the weekend. On Wednesday, students are invited to stuff a Bobcat. It's like Build-A-Bear, but Bobcat style. Thursday, take a picture with Boomer. And Friday is the day everyone's been waiting for, the Yale Gate Pep Rally, followed by the big game.
Seniors, prepare for your last hurrah of your college career with your friends by purchasing your tickets for Senior Week. For just $315, your ticket covers food, transportation, housing, and all events from May 16th to the 18th. Tickets are available for purchase in the Carl Hansen Student Center. For more information, like Quinnipiac Senior Week on Facebook or follow QU Senior Week on Twitter. The Summit Yearbook has been sponsoring free senior portraits for the class of 2013. Graduating seniors can sign up to have their pictures taken at Rocky Top between the hours of 11 and 7 p.m. this week. There are only 3 days left to sign up.
A week and a half after the 2013 blizzard struck Hamden, snow still sits around the Quinnipiac campus. While snow removal has opened up walkways and roads around the campus, parking spots still remain an issue. Students, professors, and faculty have been back now for almost a week after the university was closed. Many students were stuck in the snow during the blizzard, some for up to 4 days. Reporter Neil Ravin was one of them.
Now, while we were all buried underneath the snow in Hamden, there was quite a bit of national news going on as well.
Matthias Gauss is here with more news from across the country.
Thanks, guys. A new report out of Newtown, Connecticut today has more details about the motive of Sandy Hook Elementary shooter Adam Lanza. The police report states that Lanza had become obsessed with mass murders and shootings. Lanza reportedly wanted to top the Norwegian shootings by Anders Breivik from July of 2011. During those murders, Breivik killed a total of 77 people by setting off a bomb and shooting others. The report also said that Lanza chose Sandy Hook Elementary as it was, quote, the easiest target and had the largest cluster of people. A final report of the Sandy Hook shooting is due out this summer. Now, as we enter Oscars week, it was the blockbuster Lincoln that has made its way back into the news, but not for its on-screen praise. A Mississippi native saw the latest hit and wanted to check in on his state's history of the 13th Amendment, which ended slavery. Mississippi was not one of the original states to ratify the amendment. Over 100 years later, in 1995, they finally went through the process of passing it, but the paperwork never reached the U.S. archivist. This past week, the passing of the amendment reached Washington, making the ratification official only 148 years later. Now, the fire that led to the Carnival Triumph cruise to be stuck at sea for days has been blamed on a leaky gas line. The United States Coast Guard investigative team has found that oil had leaked onto a hot surface, sparking the fire. The fire caused the electricity to go out on the ship, leaving it floating at sea with over 4,000 people on board. People called it a floating petri dish as conditions worsened, leaving passengers without working bathrooms. The Coast Guard hopes to have the report finished by the end of the week. And that'll do it at a look at the national headlines. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Matthias. Coming up on QNN, a famous national play is making its way to the New Haven area.
Plus, there's nothing more inconvenient than getting the flu this time of year. We'll tell you how to combat it when we come back from the break. Stay with us. And now, let's take a look at the weather for the rest of this week.
Tomorrow, there will be clear skies with a high of 33 degrees, and it will be clear for the remainder of the week until Saturday, when we will be hit with a light mixture of rain and snow.
And although it may be cold outside, things are beginning to heat up on the ice for the Bobcats. After a long road trip, the Bobcats returned home and got back to work with games against Clarkson and St. Lawrence.
Let's send it over to Mike with the highlight.
Thank you, Steve and Alyssa. The men's ice hockey team entered last weekend as the top team in the country for the first time in program history. The Bobcats lost to St. Lawrence on Friday, but they were looking to rebound on Saturday against Clarkson. Early in the first period, Bryce Van Braven, why pass it? Van Braven buries it in the back of the net. Fourth goal of the season. Bobcats, they take the lead 1-0. And later in the first period, well, some more trouble for Clarkson. Who's going to catch Connor Jones? Nobody. Eighth goal of the season for Jones. Bobcats 2-0 lead, and they go on to win 2-1. And after the game, they were presented with the Cleary Cup for their first ever ECAC regular season championship. The women's basketball team entered this weekend red hot as well. Bobcats entered the weekend on a 12-game win streak and extended that streak to 14 games after a 60-51 victory against St. Francis of Pennsylvania on Saturday and a 60-48 win over Robert Morris on Monday. The team is now leading the Northeast Conference with a 13-0 record and will play tomorrow night at home against Bryant. Well, the men's basketball team has started to show some signs of life. The Bobcats played host to Robert Morris on Thursday and won a tight game 63-61. Sophomore Evan Conti led the team with 18 points. Ike Azatam and Usman Drame both registered double-doubles for the Bobcats. On Saturday, the team played host to St. Francis of Pennsylvania and extended their win streak to 4 games with a 71-55 victory. Ike Azatam led the way with 17 points, including his 1,000th career point. The Bobcats are now in 5th place in the Northeast Conference, and their next game is Thursday when they travel to Sacred Heart. In the national spotlight, while we were battling the winter weather up here in Connecticut, Major League Baseball players started reporting to spring training in Florida and Arizona. Here are some shots from Dodgers spring training in Phoenix. Opening day is scheduled for March 31st, just a few months away. You know, I'm not so sure I like the Kevin Youkilis signing with the Yankees, guys, but we'll see how that turns out. Back to you at the desk, Steve and Alyssa.
Thanks, Mike. Coming up on QNN, a mother thought she was getting double trouble, but she actually got quadruple the fun.
Yeah, you can say that. Stay with us to find out more.
Welcome back. Now, I can imagine a mother having to have a set of twins, but having 2 at almost like at the same time?
It's got to be absolutely incredible, Alyssa. A mother actually had 2 different sets of identical twins, meaning that one set of twins was identical and the other set was, but they didn't look alike in any way whatsoever. And being a twin, I can only imagine how bad this has got to be. I mean, having one set of twins is tough enough on my parents. I can't even imagine what it's like having a second set of twins at the exact same time.
I know, right? And can you imagine the hole in the pocket now for the husband having to pay for 2 sets of twins? It must be.
It's got to be absolutely crushing. I hear my parents complaining about it all the time.
Well, thanks for joining us for QNN News.
We'll be back next week with more news from around Quinnipiac and the local community. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
The Warner Theater in Torrington played host to the first debate of Connecticut's 5th Congressional District Tuesday night as supporters filled the streets to promote both Democratic nominee Elizabeth Esty as well as Republican nominee Andrew Rorabeck.
The Rorabeck people are being paid and we're not. Look at the signs. Ours are made by hand. Theirs are out of a machine.
Right now, Connecticut is shortchanged by having no member of the Republican majority in Washington. And we really are on the outside looking in.
Connecticut's 5th Congressional District, highlighted by the green area on the map, is located in the northwest corner of the state. Recently, the district has voted Democrat, with Christopher Murphy winning the last election by 8 points. Featured in the debate were shots at the Republican Party for a lack of new ideas by Esty and a preach of bipartisanship by Rorabeck.
If you've heard this, if this sounds familiar, you've heard it before. You heard it with Mitt Romney. You heard it with Paul Ryan, you heard it with Linda McMahon. We will preserve those tax cuts for everybody. Everybody loves tax cuts. But on the spending side, well, just trust us, it'll work out.
The rest of the problem has to be solved by Republicans and Democrats shedding their partisan bickering and coming together to find solutions.
We've seen this before. This is trickle-down 2.0, and it doesn't work. It didn't work under Bush, and it will not work now.
For the 18 years I've had the privilege of serving in Hartford, I have been in the minority each and every one of the years that I've been there. The only way I've been able to accomplish anything is by reaching across party lines.
Stephen Mishna, one of the questioners at the debate, was pleased with the answers he received from both candidates.
Our group has done some debates before, and I've seen many debates. You know, you watch the presidential ones, and sometimes they give you the runaround, and I honestly don't think that happened here.
I feel our candidate in the 5th Congressional District, Senator Andrew Rorabeck, was in complete command of of all the issues.
Despite the latest poll numbers, which have SD leading by 4 points, Connecticut Republican Party State Chairman Jerry LaBriola is optimistic about Ruribeck's election outlook.
We feel very confident that we are in a good position to see if we can restore some balance to Connecticut. Connecticut is very out of balance right now, and we need to send a pro-growth voice to Washington, and that's Andrew Ruribeck.
I think it's typical of the race. We've got the people behind us, and they've got the money.
As was evident by the debate here tonight at the Warner Theater, on the stage right behind me, the race to represent Connecticut's 5th congressional district is going to be very tight and very exciting to watch moving forward. For QNN, I'm Mark Schwartz.
By the time you get that classic whooping cough, there's nothing you can do but wait it out.
Whooping cough, otherwise known as pertussis, is starting to make its way back into Connecticut, despite a Centers for Disease Control report which claimed that the number of cases of pertussis was down in 2011. A more recent report, highlighted by the darker shade of blue, meaning an increase in the number of cases of pertussis, shows that not just Connecticut, but all of the Northeast has seen a 3-fold increase in pertussis in 2012. Doctors suggest that the reason for the spike in cases is due to a change in the vaccine given to kids.
Several years ago, across the country, we switched from a whole cell vaccine to something called an acellular vaccine. The new vaccine, while it works, doesn't work for as long as the old vaccine, so you get what's called waning immunity.
Symptoms of pertussis include heavy cough to the point of fainting, low fever, and vomiting, while the duration can last anywhere from days to weeks to even months. While the recent outbreak of pertussis in the state of Connecticut has been a cause for some red flags, here at Quinnipiac University School of Medicine, Professor Thomas Murray preaches the importance, both for young and old, of getting vaccinated.
Being vaccinated is better than not being vaccinated.
The current vaccine for pertussis is commonly called Tdap, which consists of 3 vaccines that in the beginning of October will be available at local pharmacies. Since the first vaccine, DDP, was created around 1950, the number of cases had significantly decreased until recently. So the question is, why not vaccinate?
One reason is that the public tends to be worried about some of the potential, what they perceive to be health dangers associated with vaccines. Another reason is that vaccines tend to be a victim of their own success. And what I mean by that is, as a parent, you don't see a lot of pertussis, or you haven't until recently. So why does my child need a shot for this disease that doesn't exist anymore?
When it comes to preventing the spread of pertussis, Professor Murray has some simple advice.
The most important thing, and this is not just applicable to pertussis, but all viruses and infection, is wash your hands, and then when you're done, wash your hands.
For Quinnipiac, I'm Mark Schwartz.
Well, we're here to stay.
Okay.
You know, they just need to know that.
At the corner of College and Elm Street in downtown New Haven, there has been a movement gathering, copying its older brother from New York for nearly half a year.
I've been here since the beginning of the movement, since October.
Occupy New Haven, believe it or not, is still in full force, as occupiers are still pushing for changes they want to see in today's world.
Well, society is really messed up. The system has totally let us down, and what we're doing is creating an alternative. This community here is a better place, so this is where I'm at.
Feeling unrepresented and undervalued, many of the occupiers are very passionate for their cause.
We talked about it, and we're just here. If we have to get arrested to prove our point, that's what we're going to do. Standing up against it, and if they think we're going to leave peacefully, we're not.
The 24 individuals that have braved the winter are not alone, as some onlookers support their efforts.
The disparity between those that have too much and those that have nothing is crazy, and it's nice to see people taking a stand and speaking out.
In New Haven, occupiers are protesting the economic system in America and against banks like the one that you could see right behind me. But with the weather outside right now being so cold and wet, it's going to be a long and cold ride for those occupiers. In New Haven, I'm Mark Schwartz.